Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass as their Conquest Battle Point. I am once again playing Egg Wardens. I'm playing it into Wadrhun. I guess it's Dweghom versus Wadrhun. I don't choose the pairings, I just play the games. Let's get into it. Here we go, back with Egg Wardens. You have probably heard me talk about this list a little bit. Its strengths, a lot of melee focused. You have a lot of MSUs that can trade up into other things. You have some tankiness with the Steel Forge to take hits and deliver hits back. They're a great brawler regiment. You got a little bit of shooting off of the Fire Forge that you can come in behind after all your Wardens and Flame Berserkers and Steel Forge are into combat. You have a pretty good supremacy of the +2 charge on objectives, as well as giving +2 attack dice to all the command stands, what allows you to really punch up with a lot of things. You got some great support spells coming out of the Argent Kilowatt and the Steel Shaper. So you have a lot of options, a lot of things you can do. That's really it. I'm gonna keep it nice and short. Pause the video at any time, and yeah, read something if I don't talk about it, or look at one of the other videos where I do talk about it. There you go. Let's go to the next list. Here's Wadrhun. Bunk boys. Opponent's got a Predator all decked out. Hide of the Silent Hunter gives him Bastion. He's in war. He's going to be sitting in a unit of Slingers. He's got Sure Shot on these guys, or on him, but I think gives to the regiment, so ignore Obscuring. My opponent was kind of having some problems with that the other day, so he decided to put Sure Shot on the Predator. He's got a unit of Raptor Riders and Hunting Pack. Hunting Pack I like. Raptor Riders, even with all the changes and the Hunters being cheaper, or free in this case, still not a huge fan of them. I still find that they just die and they're too expensive for what they're doing. However, 2 units of Slingers, really good. Flint Mapper for those reroll 6s, really good. Chieftain, Warlord, Chalk Assault, really good on Infantry and, Brutes. I believe this is the Infantry and Brute one, or is he the Infantry and Monster one? Let me find out. Let me, Chalk Assault, there it is. Infantry and Monsters. So my opponent's running a ton of Infantry and has no Monsters, so perfect for that. Opponent wants to get the charges off. He's got Death Gaze, what I believe gives Tenacious, Mantle for the Fanatic to get to Tier 3 War on his unit of Veterans, Rapid Displacement for the Double Time, and the Stoic for Tenacious, so he's gonna be really hard to kill. Or is Stoic Indomitable? One of the two. Long range for the 2 upgrades, so his Vet block is gonna be a little pretty durable, but it's only 3 stands, so you can kind of chew through it, especially if they don't get their chant off before you attack them. That's the game plan to deal with those guys. Then we got a unit of Thunder Riders and a Blooded with a Tracker, so they're flanking and they have Fiend Hunter. My opponent, as he's been playing the game, is finding that stuff isn't coming on the table as much as he likes, and so grabbing some flank is really good. Thunder Riders, 4 stands of them. Still really good. I know people would want to mantle them, but even baseline with 4 stands, they're going to do a lot of work. I understand that putting a Thunder Chieftain with a mantle will get them even more, especially if you can get shock on the Thunder Riders. Just because going to Clash 4 is really good for your impact attacks, because you're Brutal Impact 2. You got a good amount of impacts of 4, and then all the trample and everything, so you can get a lot of work done with Thunder Riders. They are a 3rd wave hammer, and they don't want to be bogged down. None of the Cav really wants to be bogged down, except for Ash and Dawn, who love it. Sign of Conquest, sitting in a unit of Blooded with a Champion for more attacks. He's just, Tribal Spear, I believe, is +1 attack per chant marker, or is that his... No, 1 voice is also +1 chant for +1 to his spell dice per chant marker. I think Tribal Spear is the same, but for attacks. He didn't really get to attack this game, so I don't. not that he tried. Yeah. So it is +1 attacks per chant marker. My only issue with this upgrade is that usually when you chant, because you chant before you attack, so like the Sign of Conquest will go, he'll put a chant marker on. The regiment he's in will put a chant marker on, then they'll chant, and now he has nothing for his Tribal Spear, so it's kind of good for duels, or if you have something in the tank, but most of the time you want to chant and actually get some work out of it, so I don't find Tribal Spear that great. 1 voice is better because it's on spell casting, and it's on the character's draw, so you'll usually have some chants in the tank, and plus you're going to get for sure 1 chant when he generates. Yeah. Big things about this list, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 scoring regiments, and then 4 lights. So I know right off the bat that I gotta kill his scoring. It's basically 3 MSUs and then a Thunder Riders. The vets are a bit durable, but the 2 blooded will go down pretty easy. So that's what I'm kind of focusing on. I'm going to slow roll the rules of my opponent. Pause the video at any time if you want to read any of those. And let's get on with the game. And this keeps going. Oh my god. It keeps going. Oh my gosh. Alright, let's go. The scenario we're playing is Echelon. You get 2 VPs for scoring the 9-inch zones. You get 3 VPs for killing any of the ejector markers. You and our opponent have a friendly ejector marker back at the 6-inch of the table. If you kill 2 ejector markers in the same turn, you're going to get 3. I have never seen this scored once. I will circle it down here. If you destroy 2 or more ejector markers, I have never seen that scored, because what happens is your opponent kills theirs, you kill yours, and then you kind of just fight over these zones, and you will collapse a flank. So let's say I fight over and win the left side zone, I'll then collapse over here to keep my opponent out. Or if I have taken over my opponent's right side, so let's say I come up here, I take mine, and I push them off this way, I will kind of make a wall over here, and then I might go for their objective over there near the end of the game if I have enough turns to kind of score it out. Echelon, I kind of find is a little dead, per se. Like, there's not a ton of points on it, because you kind of just knock these 2 off pretty quick, fight over the zones. Someone eventually kills off enough of the stuff that they'll go and kill their opponent's objective or score both zones and just kind of win out from that way. That's really it. Let's get on to the table. Here's the table we played on today. We got 2 obstructions over here. We got 2 pieces of water right at the edge of these zones. We got 1 hindering, obscuring forest. And then we got... Or was it broken? No, it was hindering. 2 pieces of elevation or hills or whatever right there. We have my friendly objective. Bloop, and my opponent's friendly objective down there. And then we got the 2 neutrals. And then you can see the zones. So, not tons of places to hide. My opponent has 2 shooting. I have 2 shooting. His shooting is going to be coming from longer and hitting me, I want to say more, because they're base volley 3. I, on the other hand, have a lot more regiments. So I'm looking to kind of just take over this and not really focus on an orange, like this side of the table, or I guess this side. Like, I can kind of funnel my way in, take out my objective, grab the 2 zones, and push my opponent out. They're probably going to easily take theirs. I might wait for a while to take mine just because I want to get my melee stuff in. And if I can kill his scoring stuff, a lot more of my stuff scores, so I'm just going to score out and win. Alright, let's go to turn 1. Here's turn 1. I get both my Flame Berserkers onto the table. My opponent gets his Predator and Slingers. And, oh, yeah. This, over here, in blue, is Hunting Pack. My opponent still just got glue on his little dino dogs on there. So, he wins the roll-off. He's just a character. I just run up both my Flame Berserkers in a straight line right up the middle of the table. I'm looking to take over my zone, what's closest to me. I've lined it up so that this one stand will touch there. So I'll touch with the one stand so I can score it next turn when I cast Rancor on it. The other stand, I'm looking to get into the woods to save myself from a ton of shooting later on, because I know he's got 2 shooting regiments, and he already deployed 1 at this point, and he's already looking to kill his neutral objective with it. That's fine, and then he can hit it with some melee stuff or whatever. Then from there, once I get into the forest, I can kind of burst out either way. He then has a unit of slingers and raptor riders who just go right behind. Keeping the raptor riders back is fine. He doesn't need to commit them just yet. They're very quick. He can kind of run them down a flank, so he could have played them like more aggressively over here to cover that flank and just go down that way. But over here is not bad because he can use the raptor riders to protect the slingers as he marches up the table. Sets up a nice spot for them to kind of pelt that left side. We did talk about this, about keeping both slingers closer together so they can just both dunk on one thing. There's a lot of open space on this table and a lot of water what's going to come into effect when we start fighting, just because they're very central. And it'll take longer for each of us to kill stuff if we start fighting. The water would allow his slingers to do more work if they can both target the same thing. But he split them up for now, and I kind of talked to him about that for later. Hunting pack, getting really aggressive, looking to get into the zone here and like side charge me if there's a chance. That's a good position for them for now. Overall, turn 1, we're just trying to get set up, get into proper positions, and go from there. Let's go to turn 2. Here's turn 2. I get my Warlord and his Wardens. And then I got my 2 Steelforge. Yay. My opponent, I believe, gets everything but his Thunder Riders. They can't even come on. So we got Blooded Veterans and other Blooded. So we'll talk about that. But first things first, I start bringing the Steelforge onto the table. I put these guys here because I'm looking to like burst out this way, past that building, keeping their flanks safe from the hunting pack. And also I'm looking to, if he comes in with the hunting pack, I can kind of get him with Steelforge next turn. I then drop my other Steelforge, who are looking to start putting pressure onto my opponent's zone. My opponent, he moves up with his slingers, trying to threaten me. This is kind of bad because I'm within 14 inches, so I can kind of just march charge him, especially if I use the Supremacy ability from the Argent Killua. Tie up his slingers with Steelforge. That's a great trade for me. He's not going to kill Steelforge with slingers. I am then, at that point, going to take out and kill the slingers, and then take over that zone and push forward. So that's really good for me, and I see this right away, and I know what I'm doing next turn. I then bring on my other unit of Wardens, who are sitting behind the Steelforge and Flame Berserks. I don't need to commit them right now. They're going to be a third wave cleanup when that game progresses into that state. But I do get to cast the score spell onto my Flame Berserks, who run up and set themselves up like this. So in the meantime, my opponent shot his objective marker and then moved up to get into a better position, using the objective marker to reduce the amount of stands I can get into him. Because if I get into him here, it's going to leave them wide open for the veterans who are going to, slam into them from that point, and that's going to be really bad as he's Blood's vets. He's got his 2 units of Blooded who are kind of running up the table. These Blooded are looking to kind of help the hunting pack after they die, and he uses the hunting pack to chaff. He leaves the hunting pack where they are simply because he has no reason to commit them yet, which is fine. He's still threatening with them, and that's a-okay. His other Blooded are looking to get into this zone. What's fine. I, at one point, move my Flame Berserkers up into the woods to keep them safe from the slingers. My opponent, realizing that he doesn't really have any, they're not really that great of a shot, and I think he's already moved his other slingers to that point, reforms and then march charges me with his Raptor Riders. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll take that. You're going to take Aura of Death. I'm Defense 3 with Resolve 5. I'm probably going to live through Raptor Riders, maybe take a couple wounds, and I can probably just mulch through Raptor Riders because I got 21 attacks. I'm okay with that. That's kind of a bad trade because you just march charge me. I'm just going to Inspire Clash you next turn and do a bunch of damage. And even if you attack me first, I still really don't care. So with that, I also score my zone for 2 points because I got the score spell off on those Flame Berserks, and they are looking to either get into the slingers, be set up for the hunting pack. I don't want to get side charged by the hunting pack, It's really bad for that, so I'm also being really wary about them, but also have something to help out. So with that, let's go to turn 3. Here's turn 3. I only get my Fireforge and Steel Shaper on the table, so that's not super great. My opponent gets his Thunder Riders, so he has everything. I got 3 regiments left, but I gotta kind of play a little cautious and worry about what's gonna happen. So, first things first, Flame Berserks, they win the roll-off, or I win the roll-off. They also win the roll-off, and they punch that, what is it, Raptor Rider, do a bunch of damage, and the Raptor Riders go, they take Orb of Death, lose a stand, do a couple damage back, nothing too crazy. And I'm like, sweet. They're locked in, I've kind of, neutered them. My opponent reforms, he shoots with his slingers, and we're talking about Tiger prioritization. This was kind of a really bad move. He shoots my objective to put a wound on it, and I'm like, you got Flame Berserks who are in the woods, what's a better shot, even if you're half shots. You got Steel Forge that are on the other side coming towards you, what's a better shot, but you kind of shot them and then kind of reformed because you're thinking I'm not going to deploy more stuff there. But I also activate, this is my Supremacy turn. I have my Steel Forge, March Charge, into the slingers, do enough wounds to kill off a stand. I have them locked down at this point, and I'm really happy. My opponent, to retaliate, doesn't do much. We kind of start positioning for, or just moving cards for better positioning. My opponent, once again, puts another point of damage into this objective, looking to bring it down. Getting his Blooded over here to start threatening my zone and help out anything that gets engaged with those Slinger, or those Hunting Pack. My Steel Forge move up to cover the flank of the Flame Berserks, who kind of just rotate and wait it out, because I didn't really want to go into the Slingers yet, just because those Veterans hadn't gone, and they're going to come and hit me, and the Hunting Pack hadn't gone. So they just kind of like reform and just hang out. My opponent moves up the Veterans, gets them into like a slightly better spot, kind of runs up the Blades with the Scion to get into a better spot, start to score that zone, what's really good. But he's kind of stuck on his own toes right here. Like, if I can kill the Raptor Riders with the Flame Berserks, and the Flame Berserks get into the Blooded, now the Veterans can't get over the Blooded, that means, like, the other Flame Berserks, so it could cascade very poorly if he doesn't unpack himself well. And I'm already noticing that, so it's not, like, he needs to work on his placement so that he can actually move through stuff. Like, if you look at my stuff right now, everyone has a path where they can go to get stuff done. These Fireforge on the left at the bottom here come up, because I'm already looking at shooting these Blooded. Either I'm going to kill that Raptor Rider, and the Blooded are going to go charge those Flame Berserks, or I'm going to move up more with those Fireforge and shoot those Blooded, because the Raptor Rider I know is going to die to Flame Berserks, even with the Orb of Death, or like 6 stands left. Like, that thing is dying. And then I can also be in a better spot to shoot the Thunder Riders that come onto the table later on. I initially had them try and deploy, I'll do it in orange, on the right side. But I was going to get, like, hit this building, and I was going to, like, not do really any wounds to the Hunting Pack, who are still back here. And I started plopping all that stuff down, and I was like, this is stupid, I gotta move. Because I got pulled away from the table to answer another question, and I came back and was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, what the fuck was going on? Hunting Pack, I'm trying to bait my opponent to have his Hunting Pack charge into my Steel Forge. That's a fight I'll take. Like, they're just gonna bounce off the Steel Forge. So my opponent instead moves them where they currently are, just to kind of cover the Slingers some more, and have it set up so that the Blooded can get into me if I do charge the Hunting Pack. So there's kind of a back and forth right there. I'm fine with it, to be honest. I don't really want him in my zone, but I need to start killing his stuff, and I'm looking for those charges where I can start blowing up his stuff. Not a lot of things in Wadrhun just kind of die, like Blood or Defense 2 and Evasion 1. Like, they just die. Hunting Pack or Evasion 1, they just die. Like, a ton of stuff dies, so I just need to kind of touch him and he'll explode. That's what I'm trying to hope for here. Kurawa and Warlord gets into the zone, I'm scoring this out. That's great. Lastly, his Thunder Riders come on. So Thunder Riders have a bit of a problem. I'll do some orange. If he tries and charges me, he's going to rotate, and he's going to hit here, but he's going to go over the building. That's bad. He's going to go over the building, and he can't wheel and turn. He needs to wheel to not clip his slingers, so I'm kind of in a safe spot until the slingers die. And we kind of determined that he either needs to like march charge or reform charge to kind of hit me. And so I'm really fine with that because I'm limiting the amount of damage coming in because I'm only going to be taking charge and tramples instead of charge, clash, and tramples. And that's the goal there, is to reduce the damage. But we both score another 2 points. I have 3 more cards that are going to be coming on the table next turn, so let's go to that. Here's turn 4. You know what, mass, edit that. Alright, so here's turn 4. I get the rest of my regiments in, what's really good for me. But we start off with the fights. Fight 1, we have Flame Berserks on the right side. Actually, does he win? Yeah, he wins because he has more cards. He decides to have his, I think he has his hunting pack charge into the ejector marker to kill it. I have my Flame Berserks go. They charge into the back of the hunting pack. I roll really poorly. So out of 21 dice, I roll 5 hits. And I'm in the water, so it's on 3s. I roll 5 hits. I'm like, wow, this is really bad. And my opponent, you know, makes his damage, makes his resolves. He's down to 2 wounds. He's broken. That's fine. He has Slingers go. Slingers over here. Combat Reform, fight Steelforge. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I then have Steel Shaper go. He casts the buff spell he was in within range. He gives them, oh, I don't know. He gives them like Harden 1 help out there. My opponent counters with another unit of slingers, shoots into those Fireforged, kills off 2 stands, using the army rule to auto rally after you do stuff. I come back. Before he killed off those stands, I had a Steelforge card go, just in case he tried to get those Thunder Riders in first. So I could use the Steelforge to kind of clap back. My Steelforge, as you can see on the right here, just kind of reformed because they didn't really have a spot to go in. So they just kind of reform. Later on, my opponent march charges me with Blooded and gets engaged. I'm like, okay, whatever. I have 2 stands. You have 2 stands. Then I have the other 3 off the Warden unit. So we're going to make it. Wardens unjam themselves off of the reform and just kind of shuffle it beside the Steelforge. I can't sling into the Blooded, but I'm kind of like, oh, the Steelforge are going to kill the Blooded. I forgot that these were the Blooded that had Fiend Hunter, so they're going to re-roll their dice into me later. Not the greatest, but I got stuff around to deal with them. I'm not super worried, but I still want to kind of keep pushing forward. It's just going to slow down my game plan a little bit. Also, at that point, my Kirawa cast the Inspired spell into those Flame Berserks, so I'm like, yay. He starts moving some stuff up. You know, he moves his Blooded up. He moves his Vets up. He hasn't used his Raptor Riders yet. My other unit of Flame Berserks go. They just clash, kill off the Raptor Rider. They were inspired from the Kirawa, and then I just charge into the Vets. tying them down, not letting them move, and I'm looking to then get my other unit of Wardens into the vets if I can clear off the hunting pack on the right, what's still alive with 2 wounds. So we got some jamming up there, but hopefully I can unjam myself and keep doing some damage. I believe at this point my opponent finally commits the Thunder Riders, does a bunch of damage, kills off a stand, and then impacts, kills off another stand. I auto rally from the army rule. My Fireforge walk onto the table, as you can see on the left side here. Shoot into those Thunder Riders, do a bunch of damage. Nice. I think he takes 4 wounds off of that. That's fine. Steel Forge at the end of my turn, activate, kill off those slingers that they're engaged with. So now there's 1 Steel Forge holding back all those Thunder Riders. I'm not super worried as I have more Wardens coming onto the table. And I got the 2 units of Fireforge who are kind of sitting around in case he comes into anything that they would be able to support. The other unit of Fireforge marches up and shoots into this Blooded, but kills off a stand. And at this point, my opponent's, I feel, is kind of falling apart. I'm in a really good spot to kind of just like trade regiments into him, and I'll just end up with more regiments at the end. But he still scores 2 points. I still score 2 points. I'm in combat finally with a lot of things, so I'm hopefully going to start doing a lot of damage. And let's go to turn 6. I think it's 6. Or 5. No, this is 4. Going to 5. Going to 5. Let's do it. Okay, so here's turn 5. Things that start off. I have my Flame Berserkers go. Does he have? What does he do? No, he wins the roll off. He has, I believe, his Blooded go. Do a bunch of damage to my Steel Forge with his Fiend Hunter, will kill off a stand and put a wound on the other guy. I have my Flame Berserkers go, kill off 2 stands of vets, and then he like activates vets and takes Aura of Death, and so now he's down to 1 stand worth of guys. So I'm like, yay! And then he kind of hits me for some damage, and I lose. I want to say like a stand, because he's only getting like support attacks. What's fine with me. I then have my Steel Forge go. This guy over here does some damage in those Thunder Riders, because he's already had his Blooded go on my other Steel Forge, so I'm not super worried. Those Steel Forge kill off a stand and put some wounds on the other one. Then then his Thunder Riders go, kill off my Steel Forge. Just put a blue line through it. Poor guy. Fireforge go, shoot Thunder Riders, knocks him down another stand and put some more wounds. My opponent has his Blooded charge into these Fireforge. He charges into the front. He only gets 1 standing contact and then like 2 support. Put some more damage. I go down to 1 stand. I auto rally. This auto rally thing's actually been doing a lot of work this game, what I've been enjoying. Fireforge, just take aim. Pop another stand off the Blooded. Blooded's down to like 1 wound. So Aura of Death is going to kill them if they don't clear off that Flame Berserk unit. My opponent's Slingers finally go. He shoots into my Wardens. Does a ton of damage. I rally. I need like a 2 to charge in to these vets, and hopefully, and then I'm planning to kill the vets with my last 2 stands, because, you know, I'm like, okay, 6 wounds, you got all the stuff, but then I'm at least in combat with you, so, you know, I'm kind of humming and hawing. I roll a 1, fail it, walk up 1 inch. I'm like, this is fantastic. I love this. Steel Forge over here, go back, kill off 2 stands of Blooded. I'm still scoring that zone, but Blooded are basically dead. Those Thunder Riders have 8 health left. They're kind of going to get gummed up and died. I just March Charge my Wardens into him, so at least I won't be taking Brutal Impact. I'll only be taking a Clash and Trample if he gets to go first. And I also have Fireforge behind to just shoot him again and keep killing him. The middle Wardens, they are in a weird position. And the only reason they're like this is if the Flame Berserkers die, the Wardens can charge the vets. Or if the Flame Berserkers don't die and I get to the Wardens, they can charge the Blooded and then hopefully get on the zone so I can score that. But my opponent scores the zone. I score my zone. They've killed their objective, so they're up on points. But they really are losing a lot of steam. They got a lot of like 1 or 2 stands left. This Flame Berserker who killed the hunting pack at some point in the game is looking to get into the slingers. My opponent opted to shoot at the Wardens. I probably would have shot at the Flame Berserks because they were just right in front of me and I know they're going to be coming. So I would have killed off those Flame Berserks instead. Purple line through them. And then focus on other stuff. But because like next turn, you're just going to get attacked by Flame Berserks. That's kind of what's happening here. And with that, let's go to turn 6 where we kind of clean this up. Here's turn 6. So I forget who wins the roll-off, to be honest. Things that go on. Thunder Riders do some damage into Wardens. Wardens clap back, kill off Thunder Riders. Sweet. I think these Flame Berserks went and attacked and killed. No, these. I feel like these guys went at some point, but they couldn't have. Maybe not have, but I think then it was the Wardens who went. I think I had both Warden cards next. So this Warden then goes in, kills these vets. Yeah, I know this charge it, because it was an auto in at this point. Then he has his slingers go and kills off the Warlord. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Blooded, I don't even think go. I think he goes into 1 blooded. And these guys die to like Aura of Death, and he gets like 1 support attack into me, and I like take a wound. Steel Forge just go in and wipe out the other unit of blooded. And then at this point, my opponent calls it. I still have this Fire Forge Flame Berserker who hasn't gone, who's going to charge these guys. I think the other Flame Berserks, they might have gone to do some wounds to the vets, and then the vets fought back but didn't do very well. You know, it's one of those who remembers, but the end result is my opponent's down everything except for some light, so he can't score. I have a bunch of stuff that hasn't gone, so I'm just going to sweep across the table and kill him, and that's it. My last move before we call the game, though, is I run this Warden unit into the zone, so I score out both objectives for the bonus points. I get another 6 points and get over my opponent, and that's the game. Let's look at that score. Here's the score. Ended on turn 6. My opponent's got 9. I have 14, so a Dweghom victory. Let's talk about it. So there was, I don't want to say like a couple points. There were a couple times during the game where the other table would call me over to go look at something or explain a rule, and then I'd come back and I'd totally forget what I was doing. And then I would start deploying stuff wrong, and then my opponent, and I'd be like, oh, sorry, man, I'm just doing something stupid. And my opponent was gracious enough to like allow me to go to a better position, because I would like put all the things down, I'd do all these measurements, and I'd look at it, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do, I'm like, no, this is stupid. So I'm very grateful for that, because I was just like, I would just get pulled from the game, talk for something about 5 minutes, and then come back and be like, I don't know where I was. Oh, I'm deploying. Like, one of the most important aspects of the game I'm being interrupted on. Really fun. Another one was my Steel Forge on the right side. I kind of gummed myself up. There was a turn where I was thinking like, oh, my opponent's going to be really aggressive. He's going to do all these things. And I probably could have took that turn slower than my opponent, because I was controlling the initiative of the game and the fights. So I could have put cards in my deck lower down, so that after my opponent committed to things, I could have shot forward more and done more damage. Like, I could have put both Steel Forge lower in the deck, so that when the Blooded came and got them, that turn where they charged me, I could have just, you know, drew my Steel Forge at the end, because I had more cards than my opponent that just wiped them out, or do a ton of damage. So there's kind of like win more effects I could have done. I think my positioning was pretty good. Like, sure, I won, but you can still always improve your positioning. I looked at for advantages like the Flame Berserks in the forest, tying up his veterans, keeping him back, and allowing me to get some work with my guns done. Seeing where his Thunder Riders were, and knowing that was going to be a big source of damage for him, and then neutralizing that as quickly as possible, and limiting the damage with the buffs, and how many stands could get on my Steel Forge was a good choice. My opponent, I would call them regimental blunders. Like, his slingers on the left died for nothing. They did 1 point of damage to an objective. That's not worth it. So that's a regimental blunder to the Steel Forge, who kind of want to march charge something and the next turn clash them to kill them. just so that they can set that line of engagement, get in there, and use their defensive stats to just kind of bludgeon stuff to death. They're a really good brawler, and that's kind of how you use them. Especially if they're far away and you want to get them in combat, you can kind of get away with march charging them into weaker things. You don't march charge them into something that'll kill them. Like, don't march charge them into, like, Incarnate Sentinels or a T-Rex or anything like that, because that wants to fight them. But if it's, like, a ranged unit or something that doesn't have any cleave or a way to deal with all that armor, just get in there. Tie them down. Set the line. Keep your opponent back. It's a great use for them. They're also great for countering stuff that kind of get onto Flame Berserks, as you saw early on in the bottom right. I was really... had the Flame Berserks, had the Steel Forge ready to hit anything that went in on them. Like, my opponent had Hunting Pack, my opponent had Slingers, my opponent had Blooded, and, Vets are all coming in. So I was getting ready to set that up. And I didn't really want to get ganged up all at once, so I was kind of, pacing myself so that I could be the one setting the line, I could be the one pushing forward, not letting my opponent have it, not just running forward to die. My opponent, we were talking about his objective. He has the range advantage. I didn't mind that he shot it the first turn. I think he should have started shooting at me for, like... Mass edit that, my god. Oh my god, I'm just full of burps. So I think my opponent should have started shooting me on the third turn. Get that extra bit of damage in. Slingers are great for killing stuff. The echelon objectives, once you have them covered by your regiments, you can go back at the later end of the game and kill them off with other stuff. You don't have to kill them right away. It's nice to do that if you have the resources to. So I told my opponent, if he double deployed both his Conquest Slingers on the one side, he could have ran both them up, done the 2 points of damage, ran his Slingers up, and then had Hunting Pack pick at it, or Blooded pick at it, or, whatever. Just put that 1 point of damage in it. And finish it off and then move forward. Because he has very strong range elements. And you want to use your range elements to put that chip damage in. But also use your range elements to kill your opponent's stuff. Or put chip damage into your opponent's stuff. And when you have your objective down to 1 wound, you can claim that objective easier if, let's say, your opponent's making a play to kill it before you do. You can sneak in there and get that last wound and kill it off. Or... when there's nothing else around, and let's say, both players have nothing and you gotta go to 10, you just shoot it or hit it with something and it dies. There's your 3 points, get back on the objectives to score. And so on. That's kind of the play there. Like, I was looking at my objective and I had my Fireforge sitting behind it, ready to shoot at it whenever there was an opportunity. But I knew killing my opponent's scoring stands and stuff in the area would be more advantageous. If this game continued and I had to, play it out to turn 10 to score all the points, the other Fireforge would run over, shoot it. The Fireforge in front of it would have shot it. Wardens would have sat in zones. Other stuff would try and make a mad dash over to my opponent's side to score his objective all the way at the back right of his table. So you kind of do that near the last 4 turns of the game. There are times to be aggressive on and there's times not to be. If your opponent's just running up the table, use it to body block. For the longest time, you had a great setup for it to body block and keep me out. Once it was dead, he had to use the Hunting Pack to body block me because I was going to get on those Slingers and kill the wall. And he does not need that. So yeah, those are kind of the things I noticed and to talk about the game. With that, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this stuff. Join the BonkTable Discord, listen to the podcast, all that stuff. Hope you guys all have a great day. Bye!